Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we are looking at Tuesday in the NBA after a little day off so that the UConn Huskies could win the National Natty Championship for the second year in a row. But now we have 14 games in the NBA. 28 teams. I've got like 15 of them that are desperately trying to win and maybe 13 that are kind of cruising. So we'll take a look at how that impacts these bets. We've got best bets up in this video. Also have play-up props up in our second video, which is up each and every weekday, I should say, throughout this season and as we get into the postseason. Also want you to head to thelines.com and use everything we have up on the site right now. And also use that prop finder tool that's up there. Make sure you grab that under the NBA tab. Check that out to see all the odds right in front of you, best bets and the player props alike. Nate, let's go ahead and get right into your first best bet of this jam-packed NBA slate.
Yeah, we got the Clippers at Suns, which is, a bit of a playoff atmosphere. I mean, more so for the Suns, though, right? Like, I don't think this is that important for the Clippers, but we talk about. I'm going over here, 226. First of all, I know the spread has moved a ton because it means more to the Suns to try to win this one and stay out of the play-in as they currently stand, and the Clippers seem to be settling into their seat again, which is what we saw before they had that defensive rating malaise for like weeks, right? Where they're like, well, we're the 4 seed, so like, fuck it, we're not even going to play defense. Harden's going to contest Kawhi's shots and just like loaf around. But now we have no Kawhi, which does increase the pace and makes this more like James Harden ball, right? I mean, he's actually been pretty productive in his last 3 in terms of like, not in terms of his raw numbers, like his shooting splits are still terrible, but like it's more of the Harden we've been accustomed to seeing after he didn't score 20 points for like 2 months straight. So it's Harden and PG and Norman Powell and Westbrook and all the pace and space that you would like to see when you're trying to take an over. And in fact, they've played at nearly a 101 pace in their last 3, which is a huge difference from like the 92 to 94 that they generally were playing at with Kawhi. Now on the season, you average it out three possessions faster without him. Defensive rating is a little worse on the season, but like lately, the defense has been pretty dreadful. I mean, they are allowing the 3rd most free throw attempts per game here in their last 3, which is the key stat, I think. And on the other side, the Suns actually allowed the most free throw attempts at home. And then the Clippers are getting the 7th most free throw attempts during this fast-paced stretch here, scoring 118 a game, despite shooting poorly from 3-point range. So I think both teams with the amount of star power they have on the wing, their ability to get to the free throw line, that is great for an over. I mean, when these teams get together, like that gets to my point here, which is we always talk about it is a playoff atmosphere, so I'm going to go under because it's going to slow down in the 4th quarter. It's going to be knocked down, drag out. That's not always the case. Certainly not when you're talking about Phoenix Suns playoff basketball, which often has like a 250 total because it's just like, you know what? We can't stop anybody. We don't have great defensive personnel. By the way, Yusuf Nurkic is questionable. And the only home game he's missed all season, Luka dropped 50 on Christmas on them. So that's a problem for their interior D if he doesn't play. But I mean, the Suns, they just don't have a lot of personnel around these big 3 to play defense. So they outscore you. They score in the mid-range. They apparently can score at the rim because right now the Clippers are giving up a league worst 75% at the rim in their last 5 road games. So they should be able to waltz right in there. And I mean, these teams, when they got together in January, they got to 253 at a 91 pace. So their last 3 meetings have cruised over this total at a 95 pace, one of them without KD. Clippers absolutely scorched the Nets when Phoenix was on a back-to-back the last time they got together. But I mean, just look at their playoff results, right? Without Kawhi, when he got injured, 4 straight wins for the Suns, over in 3. The only one that goes under is, serious 3-point regression where it still got to 222 in the literal playoffs. So I just think that this will be a higher scoring affair despite the higher stakes.
I see the logic, and when Kawhi is out, I do agree entirely. I mean, I've been aware of that pace increase without Kawhi for this Clippers team. You get a lot more Russ Westbrook. James Harden does slow things down a bit for them, but like you kind of were mentioning, if he's coming out of whatever sort of lull that he's been in, especially because this was the first time he scored 20 points since like the All-Star break, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I would concur that like if he's going to be playing a little bit better, then that's a huge part of it. But also getting, some more Terrence Mann and some more Norm Powell and some more Russ Westbrook in there is always good for an over. So I have no qualms with it at all. I just do not have a feel for either of these teams. Two teams that I do have a feel for is where I'm kind of going with my bet. So one of them is the Knicks, and I'm going to take them at -4.5 over this Bulls squad who, I don't know, it's a weird game. Like the Bulls, you could probably put into one of those 13 teams I was mentioning that don't really need a win because they don't really have anywhere to go. They're just pigeonholed into probably losing either one or, they're not making it into the playoffs, essentially, is kind of how I see this Bulls team finishing out their season in the play-in tournament. But more importantly, like I like the fact that the Knicks just came off of that loss against them last week, and that Josh Hart was out of that game in the first 10 minutes, that they were at a severe rest disadvantage playing their third and fourth nights and back-to-back in Chicago on the road after playing at home the night before in a tough game the night before as well. And then, coming to Chicago who had like 3 days rest or whatever it was. So I love that because now you've got them still really needing to win. The Knicks are definitely in that team that is trying to maintain, a 4 or 5 seed and move forward into the playoffs and maybe get this Cavs team again if they can get them. But either way, like, yeah, between the Magic and Cavs, they've got some work to do. So the matchup here, it's kind of some of the stuff I talked about last time. I kind of thought an over would materialize last time. I'm not going to really attack that here, but I do think that the fact that the Bulls cannot defend the three is going to be hyper relevant every time these teams play. The Knicks have really maintained their sort of top 3 status as teams that rely on the 3-point shot. Over the course of their last 10, they have the second highest percentage of their points that they're scoring from 3-point, only behind Boston, actually surpassing Dallas in their last 10. And if you look at the way that this Chicago team, they just sell out on defense, man. They do steal the ball a lot. They do force turnovers. Caruso is a good one-on-one defender, but he gambles, man. He gambles. DeMar gambles. Kobe White gambles, who's not even really a very good defender, to be honest. And as a result, they're giving a lot of uncontested threes up, and they are giving up, like I said, they're actually allowing the second most made threes on the season, which also happens to be how the last 10 games, like you can split this up into any segment of the season, and they've just been consistently terrible at defending the 3-pointer. And for the Knicks, without Josh Hart, a crucial swingman who is in top 3 in terms of passes made, that was a pretty big loss for that. And then they just really were like, Jalen Brunson, please save us. And he's like, I'll try, but I'm also very tired. And now they're going to be coming in a lot better rested here in this one. So the Chicago, as far as their offense, like it's all mid-range, man. That's just the number one mid-range frequency, most shots taken from that spot. And if you don't have any 3-point shooting to sort of stretch out this Knicks defense at all, then you're toast once you get into the lane. And Chicago's actually been going to the rim with a really high frequency over their last 10 games or so. And on the season, still in the top like 13 in terms of the amount of shots that they're trying to take inside the paint and inside of 5 feet specifically. And obviously, like the Knicks are only getting better there with Mitch Robb getting healthier and that stuff going up. So I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable about an over in this game the way I did last time because OG Anunoby is playing, Mitchell Robinson's playing. So there's nothing there for me with the points, but I think the Knicks are going to be able to win this thing in like a 108, 100 kind of style.
Exactly the score of the last matchup in reverse.
I didn't even know that. I swear I didn't even know that. Was that it?
That would be it. I mean, no, this was a look I had initially. I mean, I think the steam is running away with it. Like Knicks opened at a pick 'em here and now -4.5. Like, is it going to keep going? I was thinking about teasing it with the under because OG is back in there. If that's your cup of tea. But I mean, yeah, the Knicks, after just the insane rest disadvantage they had in this last matchup, like you got to take them to bounce back in a game that means more to them, like you're saying. And the fact that the Bulls, I mean, they almost always have to capitalize on these rest advantages lately. Like, remember when they lost to the Wizards on equal rest? Like, they're not a good team. They're 45% cover rate on equal rest. They're 4-9 straight up when they have a rest disadvantage. Not that that's the situation here, but they clearly are a much better team when they have a couple days off. If you look at the bulk of the season, and especially lately here down the stretch with guys like Kobe White that seemingly getting tired, running out of gas. Yep. I'm going to take another over here in Toronto, our favorite tanking Raptors who love to have won 2 games in a row. I mean, I don't know if this was an accident or what, but now they have to shut down Emmanuel quickly for this game, which is the one thing that scares you. Like at first I was like, oh, let's fire. And then I see quickly obviously played a huge role in them winning that game. But even with or without him, they are going to give up a ton of points to the Indiana Pacers, and they do actually have RJ without Quickly for the first time in several weeks. RJ, I mean, he has played two versus Indy with Toronto and shooting 50% from deep. He's played two with Toronto without Quickly and had very productive games despite low efficiency. 24 and 6.5 assists a game, 6.5 free throws. So between him and Gary Trent, who has this inflated scoring prop because he's the only one to shoot, and then a little Brucey Brown revenge if you can get behind that. I mean, he's played them twice already with the Raptors, but I mean, Scotty Barnes was the one facilitating everything with the with triple double in both meetings, and now Bruce can step in and try to push the pace a little bit. Keep the Raptors somewhat competitive in terms of keeping pace with this Pacers team, which is been playing crazy pace lately. I mean, since their Brooklyn slip, they actually haven't been playing that fast. They've been playing crazy efficiently because they've been playing the Oklahoma City Thunder and Miami Heat, very good defenses, and a 126 offensive rating against them. As we know, best assist to turnover ratio in the league on the road. We had been targeting some road unders, but lately, I mean, it's based on the matchup here. And when you face a team that is literally, as we talk about, trying to slide down the standings if they can for better, to better protect their draft pick. This is a Raptors defense that doesn't protect anything well. But their last two at home have averaged 246 at a 108 pace. 108 pace. And then you play the Indiana Pacers. They're allowing 17 threes at 42%. So, I mean, yeah, this is exactly what Indiana needs in terms of their style. They've played Toronto 3 times already at a 104.5 pace. This was when Toronto had their guys and was trying to slow it down. And those games obviously cruising over. And the last thing, I mean, is just Indiana's, giving up the most free throw attempts per game in the league. And on the road lately, that number's up. Also allowing 40%, 52, and 40% from the field there in their last 4 road games. So this road under trend is no longer happening as much for the Pacers. It just depends on who they play. And now when they play a team like this that's just going to be freewheeling and not playing any defense on either end, I think feel pretty good about the number.
Yeah, I'm just need to, like you said, I mean, I think you need Indiana to score 130 in this one. So my only preference would be to maybe switch it. Like I don't know how Toronto scores. Honestly, I get what you're saying about Indy, but the thing that scares me about this more than anything is just when the Raptors have this level of offense that they're going to be showing, and we don't really know what it is with RJ and without Emmanuel Quickly at this point. I just know what it was before Emmanuel Quickly was in there, and that's what terrified me about it. But I do think Indiana is going to be on their sort of Indiana BS in the way that they, kind of come back in these games on the road and really just rely on like scoring more than the other team and blowing them out. I just don't know if it's going to be close enough. I don't want much to do with this game, but I definitely give you kudos. And I will say here on this last one that you have somewhat convinced me to stay away from the Lakers and the Warriors over, which I was feeling, and make my pick as the Lakers minus 2.5. And I was waffling between taking a spread here for the Lakers and or taking the over. And I still think that the over is a better play than the under. It's gone up a few points as well. So I'll just stick to the minus 2.5 and say, okay, I agree with you about some of the stuff from the Dubs, right? Because we've been seeing this Dubs team play at a much, they've played a little bit faster pace in their last 5 games than they were over their previous roughly 10 games or so. If you look at the last 5, their pace has been up to about 7th fastest. And in the last 10 and the 5 before that, they were playing a lot more middle of the pack. And really, at this point in the season, when we say 5th fastest, 6th, like a 99 pace has been good enough for the 7th fastest pace over the last 5 games. There was a point in the season, the middle of the season, where a 99 pace was probably like 16th, 17th fastest in the league. Like everybody was playing super fast. When you get that, it's how it goes. It starts out insanely fast as the season goes, and then the pace slows down normally toward the end. The Lakers have not slowed down. They're still at a 104 pace in their last 5, and in their last 10, they're about 103.5 pace. So they're keeping it up, but it's really about the situation, which is the Lakers have a lot more to play for than the Dubs. Now, I don't think there's anything to like, don't show our game script. These teams play each other 4 times a year, and they've had these rosters for the last like 4 seasons, right? So like we know they know each other. They don't need to worry about, they're going to run a drop set with, or the ladder screen and get Steph and Clay on the wings. Like, nah, it's what it is. But what we do know is that like the Lakers are in a position to potentially even climb out of the play-in. And to your point, and this has been made on various Bay Area radio shows, the Dubs are in a great spot to play the Kings in the first round, and the little bro come to town or go to little bro's town down the road in Sacramento to just play a 1-game series at the 9 and 10 spot. And I think the Dubs would take that. Like, they might prefer to play the Kings than almost anybody in the West, the way that they've owned them in these games that matter. And this Kings team is way worse now. So for the Lakers, what they're going to have to rely on is what we always talk about. They are basically the best free throw team in terms of limiting and getting to the free throw line. That's what they do. They're very good at defending it, and they're very good at getting to the line. They've averaged 27 free throws a game in the 3 that they've played against the Dubs this season. And a couple of those were actually blowout. One of them, anyway, was a blowout for this Dubs team, who at the time needed that game a lot more than maybe the Lakers did. What you like about for the Lakers is that the way that the defensive rating has climbed back up. They were in a position maybe like a couple 3 weeks ago where you were like, oh God, this is terrible. But over the last like 10 games, back up to about the 7th best defensive rating. And the offense hasn't necessarily struggled either. It's still been a top 10 offense, to be honest with you, as well. And both these teams have played some pretty bad teams, so I don't think we should necessarily strictly rely on what we've seen as of late. But I do think that like if the Dubs are going to come in and like have to rely on some more Klay Thompson magic that they've been getting. I don't like that. I think it's a big Steph game here and he goes off. I'm not going to bet against Klay because he's 50-50 all the time right now in terms of his shooting. But they're going to continue to have no answers down low for this Lakers squad as they give up the most free throws a game. So that being a huge part of it, like I said, still staying away from an under in it, even though I got scared of the over. But I do see the world in which the Lakers don't let themselves get swept, by the way, by the Dubs this season, right?
Yeah, they got to bounce back from those 2 losses. They got to bounce back from losing to Minnesota. They have 2 days off after this as well, and then they have Memphis, so it's really like 5 days off before their season finale.
Yeah,
like
they're going to bring it.
This is a huge game. Yeah, they're absolutely going to bring it. It's not a huge game for the Dubs. They're not moving out of 10th. Or I mean, I guess maybe if the Kings slide enough, they could get home court in that one. Right. But like you said, yeah, they just won Game 7 in Sacramento. Definitely careful what you wish for. I mean, they're not going to say that they're pointing out those guys, but they certainly don't want to play the Pelicans. They certainly don't want to play the Lakers. Like, there's nobody else in the Western Conference, like you're saying, that you'd like to play if you're the Warriors and you're trying to climb your way in here. So, I think, I mean, they're going to give it a fair try, but yeah. I dispute the fact that you're saying that there's nothing for them to show. Like, you're showing how you react to what the other team is doing. If you're going to then play them in a one and done, like, you don't want to show how you're going to adjust when the Lakers do this, and then how they adjust when you adjust, when you adjust, when you adjust. Like, everything matters. And if the game isn't that important, as important to you, then I could see the Warriors not being able to pull it out.
And at that point, maybe Kerr's throwing in a lot more Brandon Pajemski and Moses Moody and giving them some playoff reps against the Lakers, if you will, and keep getting them some more like, primetime style minutes, right? Even if it is close and maybe they give them a few more. I can see that. I'm not going to try to predict any of that. I'm just going to say Lakers ain't going to let themselves get swept by the Dubs here in a game that I think there's a slight edge to taking them on such a small spread. So that is all the time that we have for you right now here in this Best Bets video. Also have Play Up Props up as we do each and every weekday. So make sure that you are subscribed to that page and continue to follow along with us until we see you next. Happy betting.